Somewhere behind the trees, the sun was setting as Robin and the others entered the camp. The fading light cast a dull red glow over the leaves, making it look as if autumn had come early. Much crouched by the central pit logs, coaxing the fire back to life. "I don't see," he said glumly, "why we couldn't have brought Kate here with us." "She's got a life to go back to," Robin told him. "Besides, forest is no place for a well-bred woman." There was another of those brief, tense silences as everyone thought about Marion. "But are you sure she'll be safe?" Alan asked eventually. He looked at the fire where flames had started to curl hot tongues around the logs. "I mean, how do we know the sheriff isn't going to come back and finish what he started?" "Because we proved her innocent in front of the entire town," Robin said. "If he burnt her now, he'd have a riot on his hands." "She's not going to be his favourite person, though," Tuck said. "She needs to be careful." He was still wearing his long witchfinder's robes and looked faintly sinister in the dying light. "What I want to know," John said slowly, "is what Gisborne thought he was up to." As always, Robin's expression tightened into a scowl at the name. "Burning a young woman alive," he said. Tuck shook his head. "No, John's right. Gisborne could have stopped me, but he let me speak. I wonder why." "I don't know," Robin said, "and I don't really care. Kate's safe, and that's all that matters." Much lounged back on his elbows as he warmed himself. "You know, I was sure you were done for when that ladder got stuck. You might not be a witch, but you've got the luck of the devil." You make your own luck," Robin grinned. "I suppose it's a kind of magic." Guy woke to a throbbing ache that seemed centred somewhere behind his temple. For a moment he lay, with his eyes closed, wishing the pain away. But it didn't go, and soon memories joined it. The castle, the witch-finders, Hood, escaping justice once again. Finally, Guy opened his eyes. Light stabbed into them, and he squinted against it to take in his surroundings. He was in his own bed. In his own bedchamber. For a moment, he felt disoriented. Had it all been a dream then? Hood and the castle and the witch-finders? But then he felt the sharp pain at his temple, and he remembered the horse that had knocked him out cold. The sheriff must have arranged for him to be brought back here. He supposed he should be thankful that the man hadn't just thrown him in jail, given the enormous mess he'd made of it all. "You know," Marion said, "one of these days he probably will." Guy jerked upright in bed, groaning as his head pulsed a wave of pain through his body. When it passed, he tried to focus his eyes on her, but he found that he couldn't. She remained insubstantial, like a reflection in a rainy puddle. For the first time since he'd woken to find her haunting him, he doubted her existence. And as his doubts grew, her image wavered, and he knew that soon she'd be gone entirely. He realized, with an agony worse than the injury to his head, that she'd never really been there. "You're not her," he said. Marion's gossamer figure smiled fondly at him, a smile he'd often dreamed of but seldom seen. The expression must have burned itself on his memory, for him to summon it so vividly to life. "There's no such thing as ghosts, Guy," she said. "I thought you knew that." "I do know," he told her. "You're just in my head." She nodded, her image growing yet more faint. He tried to cling on to her, to summon her back to reality. But now his mind had pierced its own illusion, and there was no maintaining it. He wondered if it was the blow to his head that had cleared it. "You need to sleep, Guy," Marion said, her voice barely more than a whisper. She smiled ironically. "You're fading away." He gasped in a breath that was almost a sob. "There's no point listening to you, is there? You're just my mind playing tricks. You're saying what I think you'd say. Oh, what you really believe," she said. And now he could see only the red outline of her lips. "Why don't you think about that?" they said. Then they too were gone. Guy stared at the empty air for a long time. Finally, he closed his eyes and let his head rest back on the bed. Marion was gone. She was really gone. And it was time he accepted it. He just didn't know if he ever would.